Welcome to Strange Weekly News. In this show, we take a look into the news and headlines to pick out curious reports of the strange, the weird, and the mysterious. Anything from UFO news to science advancements, the paranormal, and stuff labeled fringe science and fringe phenomena. Each news item we go over in the show, I will place all the links to them in the description box below once this live show is over, as well as chapters on the timeline index. Hello and welcome to all of my first-time viewers and listeners, everyone watching this live, and even those catching this on replay. How are you doing? Hopefully good. I got some really interesting news today, so I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get, honestly, just straight into this one. So here it is. We get to see the White House, people talking at this podium, but why is this being shown on screen? Well, we have more information when it comes to UFO reporting and the government, and this is really timely with last week's news. So if you watch strange news occasionally, religiously, you're going to understand what I will be referring to in just a moment. But let's get into this one because the US Congress is taking steps to uncover what federal agencies know about UFOs, as per a report from nextgov.com, which in reality we've known for a little under a year now, with the UAPDA and Chuck Schumer fighting for it. But also, I'm bringing in last week's news when we had the Inspector General Robert Storch give a summary of his report that he released back in August of last year, saying we don't really have a unified reporting system when it comes to the government. And I thought, and I said out loud, everything's about timing. Why are they bringing this up now? Why are they providing a quote transparent summary now? It makes sense with this article because this legislation requires these agencies to prepare their UAP related documents for public release and for submission to the National Archives by the end of the current fiscal year. We have Lawrence Brewer, the US government's chief records officer, and Chris Naylor from the National Archives and Records Administration, also known as NARA. We're going to call it NARA, it just sounds nicer, outlined these requirements in a recent memo to the records managers for federal agencies. And this interest. So, what it's really saying here is okay, all of these agencies, all of these little people, you need to come together and you need to provide a report when it comes to UFOs, UAP. And according to this new law, a comprehensive collection of UAP records will be established at NARA. However, there's always a however when it comes to the government. The law was passed without a provision that would have created a presidential commission with the power to declassify UAP records, a measure that was notably supported by Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. So Brewer and his team at NARA are responsible for guiding records officers on how to compile the UAP collection, including the development of a specific form for agencies to use when tagging their records for this archive. But I seriously have to ask this, and I know I'm not the only one thinking this question, and that is why now? They haven't been doing this since the beginning. Give me a break. Are you serious? Because if that's the case, that is incredibly just disorganized in every aspect of the way to get into that now. Or are they making this information public now? Or, because I said, I like to read people's comments when it comes to these shows because you bring some very enlightening ideas and opinions. And I did read one comment, and I can't remember the name, so please forgive me on that. If it's your comment, raise your hand. But the comment there said, what if they're using the tactic of war to look weak and then bam, slap them across the head from the other side when no one's looking? Is that what is happening here? When you are dealing with these agencies, they are not playing your 2D chess. No, they are playing Star Trek chess, 3D chess, and that bad boy is hard. Okay, I'm also not good at chess. I took chess camp way back in the day, one summer, and I was the dumbest one there. So when it comes to chess, do not put me on your team. But in this case, could that be a potential explanation? What do you think about that? Let me know in the live chat. Please let me know in the comments as well, as I try my absolute best to read all of the comments. And Mark Tasaka, thank you so much. And Ulf, thank you. You've been a member for 5 months right here on YouTube. I appreciate that. And it says, congratulations on 60K YouTube subscribers, Christina. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been an interesting and rather fun journey for the most part. So thank you so much on that. Peace of Mind says new congressmen are pressing for information to be able to provide to oversight. I think that might be the case as well. They've already had two skiffs so far. The first one, when it comes to Tim Burchett, or Burchett, I like to say, because closed caption really butchers that last name, and a Paulina Luna, Maskovich, Gates. That first skiff, they were like, this was total BS. This was a waste of my time. The second one, however, they looked wide eyed. They looked nervous. They looked a little bit scared as well. And so, will they be receiving more? I really do hope so. But what I hope more than anything is that the information provided in those skiffs will be made public, even just at the very least, a summary. Honestly, like, I will take it. But will disclosure come from the government at the end of the day? In my world, no, I don't think so. It will be coming from the people, but having these conversations with the government, they are influencing so many people to start asking more questions than ever before. So I think it is a really good step forward. So the memo provided to agency record managers delves into detailed expectations regarding the metadata of these records. And this includes specifically classifying levels and what information can or cannot be disclosed to the public. So not only does NARA have to label these reports when it comes to, like, I'm assuming here, like, what kind of UFO sightings they may be, but on top of that, it's okay, you can declassify this, you cannot declassify this, only certain eyeballs can read this report, so on and so forth. Now, it is very, very easy to say everything's classified, guys, nothing to see here, sorry, but it is a national security threat if you were to read this information. So how is this actually going to pan out? My expectations are very low when it comes to this. But on the optimistic side, at least at the very least, the breakdown and the conversation is being made public. And thank you for that, Brian. That is so nice of you. And we have people joining in the live chat right now, like Miss Firejack. Hello and welcome. Good to see you there. And good evening. I'm just saying hi to some people. Hello, hello. All right, now we're getting into our next one while you digest that first article, because now we're bringing in Professor Avi Loeb, very specifically Harvard Professor Avi Loeb. I've had the pleasure to speak with him on several occasions. I've had him on the show as well, and he is someone that I respect. And so he is very famously known for his Oumuamua sighting, his Oumuamua kind of research paper back in 2017 saying that isn't anything natural when it comes to space. It must be a spacecraft. For those that just weren't familiar, I just gave you a really quick background on him. But last year, he went to Papua New Guinea to find some evidence of what he believed to be some kind of alien craft or debris that crashed right near that area. And what's really fantastic about Avi Loeb is his astronomy background and how he has to write and has written thus far so many scientific papers that must be peer reviewed. When we are dealing with UFO sightings, encounters, research, in many regards, you are dealing with witness testimony. And yes, you might get some data here, some data there, and some of it is scientific, but the majority, it's not. It's more so opinionated, and only a handful of that is actually peer reviewed. Now we're dealing with Avi Loeb here, who has looked at this topic and says, look, I don't care about my opinion on this. I don't care about the stories. I care about the science. I care about the data. That's all I care about, because facts don't care about your feelings. And he plays that every single day in his life. And so here, when he had released his first paper back in October of 2023, many people had refuted it, which was also peer reviewed, by the way. And they're saying, no, it must be something mundane. And so then, this is just something that I love about science in general, is I actually like the mentality of these scientists is, while you might have said that my paper was BS, I disagree. And then, therefore, I will write another paper showing and displaying more data as to why you might be wrong. And instead, people, your average person, like to debate on Twitter, on the X, and say, no, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. And then using very vulgar language. But when you're dealing with science, it's like, oh, I have this data and this and this and this. Take it or leave it, baby. It ain't like Twitter. And you know what? Love it and I live for it. So, with this, in the original paper that was written back in October, those that were peer reviewing it said, it must be coal ash, human produced coal ash. That's all it could be. And so Avi Loeb says, well, we did compare 55 elements from the periodic table in coal ash to those special spheres that were found. And there's a handful of photos that you can find online. He's done a significant amount of interviews on his finding. And you can just literally just type it in like Avi Loeb material found in ocean, and you will see these images if you are listening to this on a podcast platform. But if you're watching this, you can see the image right here on screen. And so he continues saying, it's very different from what I'm finding, and this human produced coal ash that these other scientists are saying. They're two very different, very out of place things. You can't compare the two. And so then he says, I'm going to write another paper on it. And he did. He actually wrote it last week debunking that theory that these spheres that he found in the ocean were cold ash, but instead something in the category of unknown. While there were certain materials that can be found on planet Earth, there was still a percentage of material that just didn't fit inside of the periodic table. And so this is just kind of really an update on his research that he's been doing since last summer. And it's just nice to stay up to date on these aspects. So that is just something new that I did want to bring to the table here. Harvard, as Jimmy says, and Byte wrote that in the comments. Yes, that's the only way to say it. Yeah. When I was younger, my father used to like throw these very complex words to like a young child time. Like for instance, copacetic. It's not complex now, but it was when I was like 10. And I said, Dad, like what does that word even mean? And he says, I learned that from the Harvard Dictionary. And so for the longest time in my life, I thought there was a Harvard Dictionary until one day I stroll into university, I walk on campus, and I'm like, yeah, the Harvard Dictionary. So I learned that cool word. And they're like, Christina, that dictionary doesn't exist. And I said, what are you talking about? My dad would never do that to me. And he did. It's actually the Oxford Dictionary. Harvard doesn't have a dictionary. So now it's just an inside joke between him and I, and now you as well. So next time you're throwing up some fancy words, say Harvard Dictionary, and let's see who will catch it, because I wasn't one of those people until very recently. Yes, that's so copacetic. It's a really cool word. I actually said it in public. I want to say like last week to someone that was helping me like check out. And he says, the last time I've heard someone use copacetic is my grandfather. And this man was already like middle-aged. And I said, oh, my dad uses it all the time. Like, how old is this word? Fun fact about that, there's actually a really cool song that uses the word copacetic. So maybe you start integrating it into your vocabulary, because maybe one day, if not today, it'll be the new cool word. Forget hip, forget swag, forget whack. Those are like crazy words to begin with. Start using copacetic everywhere and you will sound so stinking cool right off the bat. All right, getting into our next one here. This one's interesting because according to News Nation, the Lincoln County in Nevada, home to the notorious Area 51, tops the charts for the highest rate of UFO sightings per capita in the United States. We've almost done 100 strange news. Right now we're at 89. Okay, we are so close to hitting that landmark. I have covered a lot of articles where we are getting a new state, a new county that is the new UFO hotspot. Everyone's research is a little bit different. And so right now, News Nation is saying Lincoln County, Nevada, right right where Area 51 is, that's where you'll have a UFO sighting. And I want to bring this up, and I'm thinking outside of the box here, okay? And I want to hear your input. Area 51, the most famous place, okay, thanks to Bob Lazar, when it comes to UFOs and reverse engineering. I think at this point in time in 2024, with just the absolute fame that Area 51 has, I would guess that it would be dormant, right? That like everything would be taken out and placed in a new, very secret location because everyone knows where Area 51 is. So, hear me out. What if these UFO sightings that are being seen in that area in Lincoln County are actually reverse engineered tech and not necessarily UFOs when we are referring it to ET, which your average Joe is going to say, all right, UFOs equals extraterrestrials, and that's that. But it really just means something that we just can't identify what it is. And so for the people on the ground, maybe in Nevada, when they see something kind of crazy, they'll say, oh my gosh, it's ET. But could it just be at this point in time in 2024, 2023 even, just be military tech? I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, okay? But I do want to be a little realistic just based off of the information that we have and just the absolute fame that Area 51 has. But prove me wrong. I'm okay with that. I am totally okay with being proven wrong as long as you do it in a way that says it's wrong because of ABC. Don't start off with, oh my gosh, honey, let me teach you a thing or two, or oh my gosh, sweet pea, you're so dumb. It's just like a little condescending, just a little bit. But if you say, hey, it's actually this because of this, I am all ears and I appreciate your commentary so much when you do it like that. Paul says, Christina, of course it's reverse tech. Wolfgang, thanks for catching this live. Hello. Oh, I wanted to show you this map. Okay, so here's a map of Nevada, and it's about, if you're looking at Rachel, it's about 40 miles from Area 51. And then if we want to go to Las Vegas, it's about 72 miles from Area 51. So it's only like an hour, 2 hour drive to get there from your kind of these hot points in Nevada within the Lincoln County, meaning anyone could go there to a certain degree. Of course, you have those fences and military and all that jazz. But for the most part, if you wanted to see something kind of strange, like what Bob Lazar had mentioned to his friends back in the day, you could just sit there, be like, ooh, look at that. That's pretty cool. It's a UFO. Fayuma says, I still want to know what's written on Christina's shirt. Yeah, it says, greetings, welcome to Earth. And it has like aliens on it. Yeah, it's a pretty cool shirt. I liked it because I like this shade of brown. It's nice and inconspicuous. So now you know what it says, with aliens and a little selfie stick posing in front of planet Earth. Okay, getting into our next one, because while you hopefully answer some of the questions that I have for you, and just in general, because I do want to know, we're going to get into our next one, because this wouldn't be strange news without stories of AI, because we are seeing it unravel right in front of our eyeballs. And not only are we living in exciting times, but it's like very soon we'll be living in a sci-fi movie, maybe like Terminator, maybe like I, Robot, maybe like Blade Runner dealing with the replicants, because this is definitely paving the way for it. So let's get into this one, because we are dealing with this little girl right here on screen, known as Tong Tong, which translates to little girl, which I gotta say it. I'm gonna put it in there. Ever since doing the show on China, and I told people, I said I took Mandarin for 6 years, and my Mandarin is so bad. I actually downloaded like games and stuff to re-practice my Mandarin. And last time I checked, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I even Googled it just to be safe. But little girl means Xiao Gunya. So Tong Tong might be like this new fun hip way to say it, but I was like, hold up. My radar went all over the place and I said, do not fool me like this. Okay? But with this one, It was introduced by the Beijing Institute of General Artificial Intelligence, known as the BIGAI. And so they brought the world's inaugural AI child. And this is the only word I can use here is whack. Because the team behind Tong Tong claims that this AI child is capable of setting its own objectives, learning independently, and exploring its surroundings. So while a 3-year-old is like not like it's okay and it's not in the sense of intimidating, if you put that learning inside of any other robot to where they're able to interact and express emotions like joy, anger, and sorrow, we are going to be walking in iRobot. And just you wait until we touch on our next article because it's going to just intertwine with this one. But a critical aspect of general intelligence, as highlighted by the BIGAI, is the integration of physical and social common sense akin to human. So Tong Tong's development underscores the importance of creating AI entities that are not only capable of completing a vast array of tasks, but can also define new tasks driven by their own values and understanding of the world. So here we are putting, I don't want to use the word consciousness here, but we're putting a level of intelligence to where they can have these kinds of desires to better themselves, to learn more, to understand better, not to help humans, but for them to live their own lives. So yeah, a 3-year-old, oh, it's super cute, nothing bad could happen. Did you not watch the movie Chucky? Okay, at the very least, that it looks 3 and it might look super cute for 1 second, and then bam, it's holding a knife the next second and you're gone. You're pushing up daisies after that. Now, some might consider me thinking a little bit too extreme, maybe a little too comical here. And yes, I do want to hide my fear with comedy, which is like not a bad thing to do. But in all sense of reality, if that technology gets in the wrong hands, it is the end of the human race. Bye bye. Mm-hmm. No, thank you. Now, will it be monitored? Yes, there have a lot. When you're dealing with AI, when you're dealing with robots, it does have to go through a lot of like ethical chambers, I want to say, where you have people on your team that have to consider the ethics behind it, the laws. There are a handful of laws when it comes to AI, and new ones are being created every single day across the globe just because of the rapid development of AI and of machine learning as well. So it's a learning curve for everyone on planet Earth. We're learning through this as it goes along. And so hopefully more protocols will be put into place. But you know, the more protocols, the more laws, the less kind of free will that you have. So it's a catch 22 here. Should we have more? Should we have less laws? Which one are you for? Either way, AI, machine learning does and can benefit humanity in so many aspects, but it can also be incredibly detrimental at the exact same time. Moon at Noon says we don't lose. I like that optimism. I like that like warrior mentality. We don't lose like the Spartans. I dig it. Small soldiers, says Spring. Yes, you put your defenses down when you see a 3-year-old, and then all of a sudden it bites you, and then you got to kick it, and you're like, wait, hold on. Should I have done that? That's like terrible as a human being, right? But is it even human? The answer to that is no. It's not. But it's still kind of scary. New says the learning curve is steep. It is. It really is. And also, lot, thank you for that. It says, thanks for your great wok. I do have a wok, and man, it makes my noodles taste so much better. And have you seen the recent Daily Mail article about the 3,000-year-old crown found in Spain using alien metals? I did read that, and so my suspicion was that maybe they had used some of the material from a meteorite. Like that was my mentality. Could it actually have been alien? We don't have the information just yet. But that's just kind of where my mind went with me because I almost put it in today's notes. And then I thought, it could so easily be brushed off as just a meteorite, which in a sense, it is alien. It didn't originate on Earth. but I need just a little bit more information on that material that was created for the crown. See what I mean? But thank you so much for supporting the channel. I do appreciate it. So let's continue on. There's a bit more information about this before we continue because its creators compare Tong Tong's cognitive and functional abilities to those of a 3 to 4-year-old child. And during the exhibition, attendees had the opportunity to communicate with Tong Tong and assign tasks to it, such as straightening a tilted picture frame or cleaning up spilt milk in its virtual space. So this isn't touchable just yet. It's still all on screen for the time being, but it's showcasing its problem solving capabilities because this would be the brain of a robot, right? So, Tong Tong's defining characteristics, however, is its ability to assign tasks to itself and to a feature that sets it apart from AI like chat robots and robots which typically require direct human input to function. And that's the spooky spot, the spooky part right there. If you're enjoying that show, hit this like button right here, right now. And that dyslexia, man, it just flipped on me like that. If you are enjoying this show, hit that like button right down below. There are moments where I just don't get enough oxygen or enough sleep, or I feel certain emotions, and my dyslexia and my stutter, it just amplifies significantly. And I've been doing a lot better since doing these shows from when I first started up until now, but it does pop up from time to time. And sometimes I can't even catch myself when it happens until it's too late. Like I've gotten comments, but like I said this wrong, and I said, "Dang it!" I read it, and then my eyeballs and my brain just didn't agree. And then my mouth was like, "What are you doing, Cristina?" Big blobby mess. But what I've learned from you is just keep going. Don't even overthink it because you will curl up into a ball with a blanket and cry about it. I mean me. So the BIGAI aims to develop AI systems that can independently operate based on human-like values and, here's the kicker, common sense. To begin with, a lot of people don't have common sense. For a robot to have common sense, that's already kind of spooky. Number two, to have common sense, you need to have background knowledge, but also an understanding for the future as well. Okay, so we're hitting the spooky times, y'all. It's happening. There's no going back from this. And there's a bit more to this. If you want to read it, those links will be in the description box below. But I got to bring in this aspect of it because it's going to play hand in hand with the Tong Tong article. Because for the first time, as they say, scientists have successfully integrated the ability to feel natural temperature sensations into a functional prosthetic limb, unveiling a device named Mini Touch. And this groundbreaking innovation can be added to any standard commercial prosthetic, offering users a sense of touch akin to the loss through amputation without the need for additional surgery. So let's just put these two and two together. We got Tong Tong inside of her virtual reality. Then we can use any robot, any prosthetic, put in a little extra device to feel heat, and then bam, you have a replicant like in Blade Runner. There's a few things missing. There's a few gaps there, but you see where I'm going with this. Now, this could either be super awesome or absolutely terrible. So the benefits of this, number one, when we're dealing with amputees, this is amazing. They're able to kind of get back into reality in many aspects because it is not easy mentally being an amputee. Recovering physically, you're good. It doesn't take that long. But the mental aspect can take months, can take years, maybe a little bit longer than that, just because. And this is actually a really cool research paper, and there's been a handful of them, but there's a lot of amputees suffer from like a phantom limb. So even though they no longer have a hand or an arm or a leg, they still feel like they do. And there's some instances where like if you were to hit their phantom leg, they would feel the pain. The brain would register it as, oh my God, he just hit me. When in reality, you were just hitting some air. But they saw it with their own eyes, and their brain says, I have a leg there or an arm or a hand, even though I don't. You see what I'm saying? It's the mentality, the psychological aspects of it is truly incredible. It's fascinating, and it's something that has been attempted to be like understood better over the last decade or so. And so when we are dealing with limbs, prosthetic limbs, but for also for them to be able to feel temperature, like if they were to touch someone's arm, in this case, as we are seeing on screen, they will be able to tell if they're touching another prosthetic arm that has no life in it versus touching a human arm. Now, with this, it only has a 60 to 80% success rate, but that is a really fantastic step forward. Again, when we're looking at this from the aspect of amputees. Now, if you were to bring this in with robots, there's so much going on with them. We've covered a handful of articles over the last, I don't know, 89 episodes of this, of people being able to regenerate synthetic skin for synthetic skin to sweat and to, I don't know if to bleed just yet, but to also to shiver. We're getting pretty crazy stuff so far in the last 3 years, if that. So when we're adding all of these little tidbits, we will be, if we haven't already, creating a Frankenstein. I mean, give Sophia some skin, that AI robot that has a what is it called? A citizenship, okay, in Saudi Arabia, a robot, by the way. Just put some fake skin on her, let her feel heat, let her regenerate her own skin the way that we're able to do it as amazing living human beings. You will not be able to tell the difference at some point in the near future between a robot and a human. And then we got to bring in aliens into this. Okay. There are stories that there are some extraterrestrials that look very, very human. What if they're already walking among us? Have you ever been to Walmart? You're going to see some crazy looking critters there. Some of them could potentially be alien, but you will never know until you ask them. Now, would they tell you the truth? Depends on how convincing you can be. Maybe they need a little incentive. They need a little like a Snickers bar or some kind of snack to say, hey, buddy, I got you. Here's a little snack from me to you. So with this, the person that we're seeing here on screen, the one with his eyes covered and his ears covered, his name is Fabrizio. Fabrizio, like Fabrice, but with a nice little accent. Fabrizio, and he's a 57-year-old test user who had lost his hand more than 30 years ago and described his initial experience with mini touch as profoundly moving. Here's what I like about this test and this image right here is that the amputee is having a blind test, literally blind because his eyes are covered. But you see what I'm saying here in the aspect of he does not know what he is touching. He has to use his own senses and his own intuition as well to be able to decipher between a human arm and a prosthetic limb. So this is really great because the eyes are very deceiving, as I had mentioned, when it comes to the phantom theory when dealing with amputees. So during trials, he demonstrated the device's effectiveness by accurately distinguishing the difference between the varying temperatures of objects such as bottles with different water temperatures and metal cubes, achieving near perfect accuracy. And this is definitely a stark improvement from his performance without the device, where he's just fully using his intuition, but now he is using tech to help him feel it out. See what I did there? It's a good one. However, the device is not without its limitations because in tests where he was blindfolded and asked to kind of tell the difference between a human and a prosthetic arm, while there was an improvement in accuracy, it did not achieve full blown perfection, suggesting that sensations like skin softness and texture are still challenging to replicate for the time being. But the way that everything is moving, just the rapid technological advancements, I would say in the next 3, 5 years, solely based off of what we've seen in the last 3 years, I feel like it would get nailed within that time frame. But what do you think on that? I want to know. P says, in all seriousness, It really is pretty amazing. It is. We are living in very exciting times. I think so. And the soloist, thank you for that. That is so kind. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And thanks, Val. I am working on it and I feel more confident than I did prior to starting the show. Like I do not watch my old shows cuz it makes me cringe. Like I will jump up and leave the room. Okay? Like I will not watch my old stuff. I was also taught not to watch my own stuff by those that have been in the field for some time of like, don't do it. You will just tear yourself apart. But it's in some respects, like when I first started, it was really important so I could kind of see my flaws and where I needed to really fix certain things. But now I just read the comments and you tell me, Christina, you really messed up there. I'm like, you're right. I'm making a mental note and I will not do that one again. Thank you for that. So your eyes are much better than my eyes. To be fair, I do wear glasses and my eyesight is not very good. Okay, I have one more for you. And this one is really thought provoking. Why? Because we're talking about CERN, and CERN has in an interesting reputation. You have the science aspect of, oh my gosh, you have a 16-mile circle that is almost at the speed of light at 99.9%, smashing atoms together to find out some new physics or the gold particle, the God particle. And then you have others that say, nope, this is demonic. They are here to open a black hole and just swallow the whole earth. They're here to bring demons in from another realm. And then you have a little those that are in between of like, maybe it's a little bit of both. Well, we will not be discussing that aspect of it, but I will be sharing some new information that was released from CERN, around CERN, CERN-ish, because they want to create a new one but 4 times bigger. So they want to create another atom smashing piece of equipment. But instead of it being 16 miles long all the way around, they want it to be, let me see, 57 miles or 91 kilometers long. And there's a little price sign to that bad boy. And we're looking at $17 billion. Today, in today's world, that's short change when it comes to government projects in general that are funded by the government. It's not that much. But for you and me, that's a buttload of cash. I think I said butt. I'm going to say boat. Boat load. But you know what? Also buttload. Why can't it be both? So I had to look up and I said, why? What would be the significance of making it any bigger? They're already smashing atoms at almost, I mean, so close to the speed of light. If you were to make it 4 times bigger, you're still not going to reach the speed of light, but you will be so diddly darn close to it. What is the purpose for making it bigger? And I have no scientific background, okay? I love science, I love studying it, but I don't have a background in it. I got my degree in communication, okay? So I had to look it up and I was like, what would be the purpose? And so here it is, if you didn't know this, like myself, because with a larger size and higher energy, such a collider would generate collisions at a higher rate, producing a greater volume of data. And this increase would allow for more precise measurements of known particles and processes. For instance, it could provide a better understanding of the Higgs boson's properties and its interactions with other particles. But does bigger mean better here? It's a legitimate question. They're saying yes, but are you buying it? Making it 4 times bigger when the first one was already okay? And by the way, when it comes to CERN and the Hadron Collider, it has to take breaks. It has to take year breaks in between their like several years of work. I think it's like a 444 or 2424 kind of time frame. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it's something along those lines where they work for like a 2 years or so and then take a break for like 2 or 4 years and then they continue on. Will this be the same case? CERN is a topic that gets under certain people's skin. It fascinates others, and it's one that I need a really good answer as to why you want to make it 4 times bigger. I need an answer because this one of just it's better for science. I mean, yes, but will they ever be satisfied? Are they going to keep creating bigger and bigger and bigger colliders until they just take up the entire Earth? Can you ever satisfy a scientist? Can you ever satisfy a person? For the most part, it's no. No, they're always going to want more, want better. Kind of like on a sad note right there. I don't want that to be sad. Okay. But what I'm saying here is, at least when it comes to the Hadron Collider, when will it stop? Yeah, Byte says out of control black holes. No. Yeah, having a black hole here on planet Earth, I'd be a little spooked. Or did it already happen? Did they already create micro black holes? Some would say yes. But it's a toughie there. Marty says, you cross dimensions, the faster particles go. Okay, here's my question for you, Marty, and for those listening as well. If you were at CERN, at the Hadron Collider, and they are smashing particles at nearly the speed of light, and they open up a portal, and it was accessible for you to walk through that portal, like a decent sized, would you go through it, not knowing what's on the other side, but at the very least, hearing the rumors, because that's all they are. In many respects, baseless rumors of it opening realms to darker realities, darker realms, demonic realms. Would you still walk through it because curiosity was there? That one's a toughy one. I feel like, number one, curiosity killed the cat, but at the same time, like, it eats me up on the inside. I'm like, it's already dead inside. I might as well go to fulfill that curiosity, just kind of figure it out when I get there. But I will always bring a backpack with snacks, not just for me, but for those that I encounter as well, because I want to make friends on the other side. I don't want to go there and make enemies. And snacks and food and sharing food, it's the way to a person's heart is through their stomach. You've probably heard that before, and it is very true. It's very real. So always pack snacks. In your pocket, in your jacket, in your backpack, in your car, okay? In your shoe, maybe. Maybe not there. That's kind of a gross place to put it. But always pack snacks. John says, I'm curious, but not that curious. Valid. Logo says, poke a stick through it. I don't see why not. Or at least tie a string to yourself, walk through the portal, and hopefully someone can just kind of pull you out, but it's a little too spooky on the other side. Heiser says, I'll stick my pinky in it. But then what if all of a sudden the portal closes? You'll only have 9 digits instead of 10. Would you take that risk? Would you have a phantom pinky then? That'd be kind of cool. Paul says, bring peeps. Those like little marshmallow things. They're cute in merchandise, but it tastes like chemicals. It tastes like cancer, man. It's not very good. Ooh, Lo says 9 digits and a good story. If you were to put just your pinky in that portal. That's true. I like where you're going with that idea. I think another image of CERN. Here's another inside picture of the Hadron Collider. For those that were interested, I mean, this is actually a very aesthetically pleasing image. We're dealing with a lot of like linear lines. We're dealing with shapes. I mean, it's very nice to look at. But at the same time, it's just, for me, it's like overwhelming that number one, humans built this kind of structure, but number two, it's fully metallic. Like that is all that you're dealing with. There's not even a little house plant anywhere in this image. Not like I'm a house plant mom, because all of my plants have always died. Now my dad, on the other hand, he has the most amazing green thumb I've ever encountered in my life, but he didn't pass that down to me. I'm thinking like, What's the point of being your child if you cannot pass down the green thumb? But if you look here, no plants. And that causes a pretty depressing atmosphere. Do you have plants at your place? I want to know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the live chat as well if you're a plant mom or dad. I gotta know. But that is it for today. Out of all the articles that we covered, which one was your favorite? I think for myself, I think it was really interesting to see the timing with this report from the government from last week and then touching it on with this one of we will receive a report at the end of the fiscal year of 2024. So I'm going to look forward as to what will be written in there, but my expectations are very, very low. When it comes to yourself, which one was your favorite? Let me know in the live chat. Please let me know in the comments as well. I do try my absolute best to read all of the comments. Before you head out, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, as we do 3 live shows right here on this channel every single week, covering topics from UFOs, the paranormal, fringe science, the mysterious, the unexplained, and so much more. If you're into that kind of stuff, you're really going to like this channel and hopefully the live format as well. Right here, I have the QR code that will take you to all of my social media links, my website, where I write up my articles for all of my shows as well. And if you need help falling asleep, relaxing, meditating, or using your imagination to wander the universe, take a look at my music channel called Cosmic Portals. There I make space ambient music. Right there we have a little under 2,000 subscribers. If you like that kind of music, please go over and subscribe, as I do make all of that music myself. That, I believe, is it for today. Be safe and remember, keep your eyes on the skies.